Network, and that's KCCN, and they're going to be speaking to us about all of these cryptocurrencies. So I've got Mr. Anold Manhizwa, who's the blockchain researcher and analyst and financial technology development officer. Wow, that is a long name, but he's also with KCCN. And I'm also joined by Mr. Albert Chapasuka, who's the director of KCCN. So gentlemen, welcome, and let's talk some tech.
Welcome, Talent.
Great. Now, starting with essentially what we're talking about with Bitcoin, let's start with the first question any Zimbabwean would ask. I'm trying to buy something online. So Bitcoin is the answer since Mazwanota Nema limits on how much money you can spend online. Yes or no?
Yes or no.
That sounds like a good answer. Yes or no?
Okay, yes.
But is it really possible? Can people actually trade with Bitcoin and everything?
Yes, they can.
And buy actual items on the internet?
You can buy.
All right, I'm already excited. Now you've got me hooked. So just explain to us a little bit. And I know I've given a bit of an overview, but I talk really, really fast as I'm told by a lot of people. So can you just explain to us again, what is cryptocurrencies and how would it work in a developing country like Zimbabwe?
Cryptocurrencies, they are electronically transmitted tokens.
Right.
Which are digitally transmitted over the internet. But you notice that behind the internet, cryptocurrencies, we are only talking about financial technology. So financial technology, there is a technology which is behind. So the technology is called blockchain. So the main mistake, I'll come back to your question quickly,
all right,
but the main mistake which most people or entities do is they delve more on the crypto, but not on the technology, which is the blockchain technology. So that's why you would find that they may not realize the strength and the power. That's why you find the developer and the creators of Bitcoin are the only ones who are being spoken about,
okay,
unto which there can be something more coming out of blockchain.
All right.
Coming back to your question, how can it benefit Zimbabwe? I think you have mentioned much on the overview. Zimbabwe right now, we are in a financial position which is defined by our mobile operators and our banking system. But you'll notice that there are weaknesses and strengths in any system. The same way there are weaknesses and strengths in cryptocurrencies. So I'm one person who has a balanced approach. I believe in what you call technological synergies. Synergies, they complement. If you work in a complementary environment, you find benefit. But if you work in crypto wars, will it work for us? What are the advantages? Because technology, you support it for it to work for you.
Okay.
You see. So it's not yes or no type of approach when it comes to these things. Technology is evolutionary or even revolutionary. What we are talking about right now is a financial revolution. And unfortunately, when such type of things happen, if you're not careful, you may not see the benefit. If you're careful, you find benefit. Zimbabwe right now, we are coming out of a downturn where our economy was low, 2005, 2008. So because we have zoomed on Zimbabwe, you're going to notice that the banks, they've been holding all the investments and securities. Almost because Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, they are new in Zimbabwe.
Right.
Actually, they were incepted 2009.
Okay.
But because Zimbabwe, we may not lag behind in technology. We need to look into it and consider, is it worth gamble?
Well, Arnold, I will say you must be a politician because you've managed to answer my question and leave me even more confused. So let's start again. So yes, I do, because I do appreciate what you're talking about. There's a lot of benefit and there's a lot of things that do exist. But let's make it tangible for a simple person because, again, you're talking about the big, broad strokes here. Let's narrow it down. We're talking about Zimbabwe in the current space. What do we stand to benefit? We're saying there's opportunity here. What do we stand to benefit? What exists? What opportunities exist for Zimbabwe?
All right, that's fine. You'll notice in Zimbabwe, it's now very difficult at the moment. It takes time for you to send your money. I'll be just blank. Sending money, it's not as easy as it used to be.
Right.
But with cryptocurrencies, if I send money right now, or my tokens, it will arrive in minutes or seconds, or instantly. Real time. So I would love that.
Okay. So
I'll leave it there.
All right.
It's instant. You can compare with banks. It can take a transfer. It can take you, it can take you a week. Zooming to Zimbabwe, at times I did a transfer. It took me even lots of days.
Right.
So I would just leave it there. It's fast. It's instant. And also you notice it's cheaper. With our banks right now, if you do zip it, I was watching a Twitter, one of the banks, I may not mention the names on Twitter, they actually tweeted that $2 zip it. It seems it's cheap.
That's expensive.
It's expensive. But you notice with Bitcoin, at times it's free.
But
it's negligible.
But no. But I get there at times, but we can't make plans on at times. Let's talk about usually. What's the price usually?
All right. If you transmit with Bitcoin, it depends with the network load, and it depends with the exchange which you're transmitting. So you notice that if I send, let's say I'm sending $100, I may incur a few cents, like maybe 2 cents on Coinbase.
Okay.
3 cents, or even less. It's variable.
Okay.
So you can't compare it. But now the thing when you're sending, it's not affected by how much you're sending. I can send $1 million, but still the transaction fee
it remains low.
Remains low.
So it's not 1 cent per dollar, it's 1 cent per transaction.
Yes, per transaction. So banks may not compete to that. So you notice that banks are using what we call repo. Repo is a form of a cryptocurrency for transfers, international transfers.
Yeah.
So you notice banks, they're charged for international transfers.
Yeah.
But now repo is coming and saying we're giving you a backbone to move your transfer. United States of America, UK, Europe, Asia, China. So they move low cost, and the banks will benefit.
Okay. All right. So looking at all of these things, some people are looking to invest in cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin. Like I was saying, it's performed well over the last in terms of the value. So some people invest in currencies. Could people also then look at Bitcoin as an investment platform the same way they would stocks? Is that something that they could actually do?
Wow, they are way better than that. Because in Bitcoin, there are digital investments, which are not just stocks. Yes, I can accept your first statement that they can be taken as stocks, because you notice that someone can say, I'm converting my fiats, which are pounds, US dollars, into Bitcoins. They can do that. And these are variable assets. And now they back, it's like you're backing using your money which you have. So I can partially say yes to that. But you also notice that you can also create your own Bitcoins, because there's no central bank here. The network use algorithms, calculate how much Bitcoins are supposed to be in the network. So if you work for the network, you're employed by computers, it will pay you. So then we talk of Bitcoin mining, which is one of the biggest investments.
Okay.
You see, so I'll give you a country which is doing that. It's not yet official though, but there's a country, okay, I'll not do names here, but there's a country.
It's a country. I think you can tell us the name of the country.
All right, there's a project happening. Yeah, I usually avoid names, but there's a project happening in the eastern. It's Korea. I will not mention which one, but they're doing it at national level. Bitcoin mining. With Bitcoin mining, if you agree to benefit from it, you get Forex. But just mine at national level, because it's anonymous. It will never be known that you're mining from zero. You're mining from, so it gives privacy of whatever projects you're doing. So, but these decisions have to be made on national level. if you're considering that option. So I hadn't finished though on your first question you asked on how people may benefit.
Right.
Because there's also one thing about the wallets. The wallets are different from bank accounts because the wallets, it's instant to open a wallet. And the banks have obligations.
Okay.
You need this and that and this and that. But right now they're learning from their biggest mistakes because 70% are lying on bank accounts. You see now it was a big mistake. And now they're offering low-cost accounts. You'll find those adverts online right now. But they were supposed to do that in the first place. Because there's now options. So we lie in the public interest of things. And also other entities. We need to consider all the stakeholders on the benefits. So, like I said in the beginning, if the banking system adopts, they'll benefit on low-cost transactions. They'll benefit if they consider adoption. They'll benefit on security because Bitcoins, they use cryptography. To break one crypto key, you may need 10 years to do that. But it will change in the next 3 minutes. You see now.
Okay.
There's also credit card,
No, continue.
There's also credit card fraud. People are just hitting credit cards. You go, someone is taking money from my ATM, someone is taking my money from... This is happening and we are seeing it. But it's so difficult to do that if you don't have crypto keys, private keys and public keys for the Bitcoin wallet. I'm my own bank. It's a truth which might be difficult to accept for banking institutions. But what we are saying for them, they need to consider adoption and fuse to create a product which is hybrid than fighting technology. Yeah, fighting technology, usually history taught us, it's difficult to fight it. I'll give examples. They're global adopters. We're doing that, but you have to ask a question, why? But we call them developed countries. You see AIG, American Insurance Group, they're building blockchains. Europe is building blockchains. HP, IBM, they're building blockchains. The Bank of Canada, they're considering it. South Africa, our neighbor, I was quoting the governor, they said we are looking in the merits and demerits so that we find how to do it for people to consider blockchain.
Right.
So you see, this is what is happening. BitPesa, Kenya. These are other countries who are doing the same, but most of them are advanced. You're going to find Toyota is working into you. KPGM, this Deloitte, they're considering that. Ernst & Young, they're building private blockchains. All of them will make use of a digital token.
Right.
So this is...
Okay, I get that. So, all right, I won't get into the Bitcoin mining because I once had someone try and explain it to me, and it gets complicated after that. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is talking about the stability, because then looking at price stability on which, because they're not really based on a currency, no? So how is the price set? And also then with that in mind, also how do you ensure price stability, especially if you're a concerned person who's looking to store long-term value?
Okay, that's a good question. Thank you. When Bitcoin was incepted, there was volatility because of many variable factors. Don't forget that Bitcoin has resistance. I'll be open on this one. That's why you find fluctuations of what we may call dumb investors who want to fluctuate the price to scare away investors. How do I do it? I put up my 4 billion today. I withdraw it tomorrow. The market will go up and down because of that significant amount of movement. But that doesn't mean Bitcoin is not secure and safe. But because it's launching quickly, such volatilities may be expected. Right now, you notice that the volatility is on the gaining trend than on the losing trend. If someone is a day trader and you adopt Bitcoins today, you'll notice maybe today is 4,200. Tomorrow it's 4,100. Maybe tomorrow but when you find it's now 5,000.
Okay.
So the long-term trend Bitcoin is gaining. The prediction end of 2018, the Bitcoin tracker has never failed. 6,000, 18,000, 13,000. It's coming to pass. So what I'm saying, the pricing, it's backed by, I can say, by all currencies of the world, because people in different global locations, they're converting their fiats and investing their assets, because there are other assets which are not fiats, but they are like properties, because there's a cryptocurrency for properties as well.
Oh.
There's a cryptocurrency, yes. So you find there's a cryptocurrency for writers, the Steam dollar. If I write my intellectual property, I can convert it.
I like that idea.
Yes. So the other thing I wanted to mention, people don't know about this. There's Steemit. The Steemit is quite interesting than Bitcoin, which people are rushing with, because you don't put nothing. You put your intellectual property and you get paid. I'm being paid every day for information.
Unless they eventually make money off of your intellectual property. But I suppose that's that. But there's been a debate in Zimbabwe that 68% of the Zimbabwe population stays in the rural areas, and there's little knowledge of even mobile banking, and that also access to internet and electricity, making the cryptocurrency work for only a minority. How then can we, if we wanted more Zimbabweans to get involved, would this still then remain a bit of an, for lack of a better term, an elitist project to some extent?
Okay, I wouldn't call it elitist, but it's something new. I'll give an example. When EcoCash started, it started as a concept by Econet Wireless. But how many years down, you notice everyone is using it. So with technology, never underestimate that today Bitcoin is in urban. Actually, it has made milestones which the fiats have not made, because its growth is so mammoth in a short space of time. So never underestimate, because right now the good thing, I want you to take note of what our policies as a country are focusing on. I understand you know about STEM. There is a focus which has said 60% of university education is going to focus on technology, for your own information. And students will spend 30% of their time studying science, which is our fabric of the future, our young people. So we are not calculating on current, but we are looking on the prospective. So we are going to look, there is about 1% of our GDP, which has been set apart. Government.
All right, that somewhat is impressive, but again, when you're talking about massive gains, you also get massive falls, right? But anyway, it seems this is an opportunity that is worth considering. You are tuned into Harare's premier talk radio station, Capitalk 100.4 FM. And this morning I'm speaking to Albert Chapasuka as well as Anold Manhizwa, who are speaking to us about cryptocurrencies and what they can do for us. Thank you so much for tuning in, and keep those messages coming in. Hansi, ndanisathi ndanyatso kunzwisisa kuti Bitcoin inonyatso batsirei. So if someone is asking in a nutshell, maybe it's kuti sakagara chiti inobatsira exactly outside of providing an alternative currency, and like you're saying, for maybe online payments, it's very fast. For what is that it? Is it just basically?
There's a lot. I think it's only your questions were coming fast.
That is true. Okay, so before we get to those, because I know you I can see you turning the pages. You've got a whole list. But Rejoice Ngwenya sends a message and says, my problem with Bitcoin and blockchain cryptocurrencies is they're difficult to explain to Mbuya in Lotito. Why is such a good thing so difficult to comprehend? I wish it was as easy as WhatsApp and Facebook. Is there a way we can simplify it?
It's as easy as that. But it's an issue of integration. Like when you're introducing Bitcoin and blockchain, we expect integrations like on SSD, for example, on Econet Wireless. But because of these wars I mentioned about and monopolies of payment gateways, we can create an SSD if the country decides to move in the blockchain, which can tap into the Bitcoin network, and there's an integration to simplify the front end. If you notice the front end of current blockchain wallet, it's more simpler than the wallets we have. The SSD is difficult because on Bitcoin there are two buttons, send and receive. That's all. Send, receive. But if you go on the SSD, star 580, 200, hash, star 20, and but do you tell me Go can do that? It's more difficult than send how much? 5, gone.
I suppose the difficulty is appreciating the value aspect, because for now you tell Gogo kuti $100. It's $100 in sheet transfer. But I believe the last time I was talking to someone, they were saying that at that point, Bitcoin was worth, I think, one Bitcoin. I suppose it's called one Bitcoin, no? One Bitcoin was worth about 25 cents. So then you start trying to explain that, listen, this is 25 cents. And then you have to do the conversions. And then it's like, oh, no, the value of Bitcoin has gone up. It's almost as if you're asking Gogo in Lotito to do a transfer in Pula while she's got a US dollar account. There's a lot to kind of think about. Would it be a fair way to put that?
I think it's us who want to complicate it. Because you notice Bitcoin, all the wallets which are present, they are representing for a seamless continuity in the local fiat. So when you have your Bitcoins which are 0.00, because they can do micro payments, even you can buy something less than a cent, you see. But they represent in your local currency. You choose that I want to know my value in USD. That's why I was talking of the complementary. That's the wrong approach which most of the people do, because we want to say they're fighting against the banks and they complement. That's why you notice that we represent in pounds, in euros, in USD. So my wallet is in USD. If I open my wallet right now, it's in $5. Cent, $5, they send $5.
Right.
That's all. So the underlying conversions, they're done by the application.
Right.
So you don't need to be technical to know about that. But now, I will not dodge this one. It's a tech-driven currency. There's a certain knowledge which needs to be known.
Okay.
We will not keep our people ignorant. Of course, we are saying gogos, but there are gogos in Europe who are smarter. So I beg to differ. My gogos, they're intelligent, they're smart, they're educated. So we want a future with gogos who are educated, who understand digital. So I beg to differ if you say go in rural. But for penetration purposes, to deploy Bitcoin, it depends with who is adopting it. We can train, like what we are doing. We are considering it for education purposes and also for research purposes. So training modules are made to be simpler. Video, multimedia, you just watch how it's happening and you do the same. So we don't know, but the adoption is fast. Don't you think? It's working.
Well, it might work. I think I'd have to hear from you. Our studio lines are still open. That's on 0717 777. But you talked about banking, which is going to be my next question. To say, Wallace and Brown, in the article, we're talking about, this was in Startup Smart, they were talking about cryptocurrencies and the fact that more and more people are accepting them. How then, first of all, do you view the role of traditional banking in the future? And at the same time, despite the fact that, yes, it might be cheaper, if I'm still required to still use traditional banking at a certain point, is that not also adding an extra challenge?
Okay, one thing you should do, technology is not a destroyer. There's a wrong statement circulating that the blockchain is a disruptor. It might be true. The thing is, if an elephant is coming and you're an ant, if you don't choose to ride on the elephant, you can get crushed. But if you join on the walk, the elephant will carry you, and the long chain will become short.
Right.
So why I'm putting the allegory? We need an open-minded society in banking. Fintech is for financial technology. I want you to notice what is happening. We are using computers in banking. But when we started, banking wasn't computers. We were using barter trade. So it means we're accepting there's a technological evolution which has been happening already.
Right.
Visa, MasterCard, that's technology. Banks way back were not like that. JP Morgan wasn't like that when they started.
Right.
But right now, why would you say no to the same technology which has taken you where you are? You're using computers in your banks. But now the technology is coming. It's for you to take and adopt and use. It's not for Bitcoin people, but it's for the same banks to go and say we can build our own. Right. I like President Putin for Russia. They called Vitalik Buterin last month. And they sat down. They said, look, we like your technology, but we want to look into it at national level. And they sat down, they're working
on pilot projects. You see, they're not the only guys that do that. So you're allowed to run pilots at national level. And then you weigh the merits. Then you tell your people, this is what we have. And we trust if we use it this way. So you are now the innovators of the technology. You are bending it to such environment as Zimbabwe.
Right.
But you can't say, we don't want to hear about it. We can't. The problem, all the countries around, they are rallying right now. I mentioned a few that time, but the list is endless.
Right.
You will be isolated to notice that your banking system cannot send transfers because it's a blockchain platform in Japan. Because Japan is adopted.
Right.
Airlines are using it. And you're coming from Zimbabwe with your visa, they say, we accept bitcoins. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So I'm giving examples of saying, Japan, they're tech-based countries. China. But you notice now, most of these countries, they're doing what you call regulation. You can't evade tax. I'm touching more sensitive areas where you find resistance. You can't evade tax if you're a good citizen. So we have to find solutions, avoid money laundering. You have to find solutions against hacking. Find solutions which benefit our people. So if we have, I'm giving an example, like what Russia is doing, they develop their own controlled blockchain. It will benefit them. You see now. Because they're investing money right now and we're watching and saying that doesn't work. But watch 5 years to come. Japan is already using it. They're doing point of sale developments right now as I'm speaking. Retail distribution chain.
Wow.
It's adopting right now in Japan. They're not, I'll give you an example. If Japan adopts Bitcoin today and they invest 4 billion, then Bitcoin shoots.
Yeah.
Who benefits?
Well, I'd say...
I know there are lots of things around, but Bitcoin, they know how they're calculated. I know, when you're considering the fiscus, there's a lot you have to consider.
Yeah.
I'm simplifying it though for lay people, but there are a lot of factors, you see. But it's a good technology to test, try, experiment, start adopting at your own pace, so that the future may not bypass you.
Okay, well, if the future is not bypassing us, then we do have a couple of things to think about. But keep sending us your messages here on 0717 777 You can call us, text us, send us a WhatsApp message, and we definitely want to keep hearing from you. But now, you were talking just now about Russia, and it seems the Russian bank also believes that it's time to develop, and they are launching this. You're basically saying it's similar to what cryptocurrencies are doing.
Ethereum.
So
Yeah.
how is this then different to the Russians deciding to say, listen, our money is now just online, like it's just online currency, like us essentially relaunching, because we don't have a currency anymore. So us relaunching the Zim dollar, but making it an online, an online thing. How's that different?
Yeah, there are many.
With the exception of having a reserve bank, I suppose that's the difference with cryptocurrencies, correct?
All right. I usually answer in balanced ways. Unfortunately, I'm not a yes or no person,
All right.
but I need to clarify.
We do like broad answers.
Yes, I try to clarify. I don't want misconceptions.
Okay.
Adoption, it's a stage. The fact that with digital currencies there's no central authority, it doesn't mean we are ruling out central authorities in the countries. Because they are the same people who are going to regulate.
Right.
Who are going to do the major adoption. So we expect major adoption coming from the banking and government levels for the people than coming from just me. Me just using my coins, I can do it alone, but it won't benefit the nation.
Right.
So you're going to notice that as Zimbabwe, we have great experts. Like I'm coming from the tech end. We sit down, we find models, we research. So I like how institutions are growing in the education sector, STEM. That's what is getting me excited.
Right.
Because it's opening minds of young people. Once we start investing, then we have an institute which is focusing on blockchain research in Zimbabwe, the first of its own. And we build our own. We stabilize it according to our standards to suit us. I think that would be better. Now, you asked about Russia. Yes, you asked the question, but what if they choose that we are just going cashless? Fintech and the banking system, it's complex. It's complex
Right.
because you're dealing with local issues and you're dealing with international issues, and you're dealing with being competitive on markets. So you don't just do something. You're dealing with policy regulation. You're dealing with bills which have to pass through government approval. It's not easy, you see, because the only challenge we have is if people don't understand the advantages and demerits of this system, they may vote it down because of ignorance. That's what we want to avoid.
Right.
They need to have it open, clear, and know if I move into this space, I get banned. If I trade on bitcoins, maybe I get banned. I have to stick with my own system.
Right.
So the walls have to dissolve and dissipate and move in a financial inclusion sphere where we are open-minded with our bankers, where we are looking into solutions long term. What if we did this way? How is it going to benefit us? You see. So that's my approach when it comes to cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
Yes, it's not like we want to be above banks, let them vanish. Banks will never vanish.
All right.
They will be there. But we need to find the common ground of integration. How is the technology integrating? It has been doing that in the past. But is it integrating the same way?
All right.
You see, the only challenge which you're facing,